so much. How are you? It's been
Um,
how many
so
years? Do you know when the last time I even saw you was?
honestly, no. It's been forever. I think it was, gosh, it's probably been around 15 years, maybe 20. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But I will say we're not even that old, so
I mean, I'm about to have a pretty big birthday coming up.
I know it's scary.
But you've hung on to like every ounce of your youth. I'm just even just looking at all the pictures and stuff. I'm like, what? How did time affect this woman? Because it wasn't on the outside.
I think part of that is genetics and part of that is just sheer will. I fully
Wow.
intend on staying young forever.
I uh I don't know if I didn't specifically care about my youth or if I just stopped fighting it. I don't really know exactly what happened, but I'm just I've always had a baby face, so maybe I was in a hurry to get like old looking, and now that I'm kind
I
of
don't
middle
think
aged, I'm like, whoops, I got
you're
there.
no. You could pass for 10 years younger than you are.
Yeah,
I'm
which
just
is weird. People
I
will
know
be
it's
like, "Are you 30?" I'm like, "Nope, but thanks."
right? It's pretty great.
So, I mean, in that we don't remember the last time we saw each other, like, do you remember how we met? Because I don't think I do. I know like the group that we were hanging out with, but there had to have been a moment.
I'm sure there was a moment, and my guess is that it was a moment. Okay, so the first time I remember hanging out with Tom and that whole group,
Mm-hmm.
we had gone over to somebody's house. I went with my brother,
Mm.
but he didn't know you guys, and we were all mutual friends with whoever was having a birthday. And I remember I was wearing my lucky shoes, which nowadays would be atrocious, and I would never even consider wearing them. But they were lucky shoes, and I always thought they were. And then when I met you guys, and it totally, literally changed my life. I hung on to them for like 10 years. I'm like, they're so lucky. Every
That
time I
sounds like
wore
you. Yeah, I
it
love
happened.
that.
I know, right?
There was always this like magical like fantasy element to being around you. It was like you managed to be on this earth and not like bound by it. You were going to have the party, you were going to show up in a way that meant something to you. It was
Yep.
always
Yep.
sparkly and it was always fun and I don't
Oh, and
know.
that tiara that I wore every single time I went out dancing. What? Okay, so on that note, my nickname is Gypsy Princess. And it's really funny because it didn't just happen. It's been for my whole life. I've been half gypsy, half princess, and that is so real. And that was my princess phase.
I mean, in that I think from Tom and Mai's perspective, we got to say we're with her. Like we everywhere we showed up, we were just
Oh,
like because all the guys were always drawn to. There was always a party
oh,
happening around you. So
oh my
we were just
gosh.
cool by association. Like what what was our value to you? You mentioned that it was a day that changed your life when you like met us. Like how did that all hit you?
Yeah, so you're not probably going to even believe this because it's so foreign to what you know.
Okay.
But before we met, I was super shy. I was probably either just as or more shy than anyone you've ever known. I was shy to the point that I had like one close friend at a time, like all through my life. And when I would move, I would make another close friend for that grade, or whatever. And at the dinner table, I was too shy to speak around my own family. And then when I met you guys and we started going out dancing, it just opened up my whole world. And I realized at that point that people people like me and
All of
that
them. Yeah.
I have opinions that actually are worth
Mhm.
hearing, and I can be myself authentically. And you guys really, really opened that up for me in the space
Wow.
that you guys created in that group.
Mhm.
And I've just been full blast ever since. Now people are like, wow, you're really blunt. And I'm like, yeah, it's just me. I'm really going to tell you every single thing I feel. So
Which
you guys.
is kind of amazing to me because I have trouble understanding how you could be so shy and yet so full of style. Because style is such a form of expression. Like, how could you just be so, I guess, confident externally, but yeah, like shy expressively?
Yeah. So it's kind of, I think that was my outlet is fashion and that inherent being expressive, really being different in my visual style was
Hmm.
the way that I kind of allowed myself to speak and have a voice
Hmm.
before I actually found my voice. So you guys got the brunt of it, at least the beginning of it.
Um, I've been trying to think a lot in getting to like catch up with you of my memories of you because I think I really only have two distinct either memories or sets of memories, and that's church dances
Hmm.
and times that you and I would just hang out together
Yeah.
in just such a buddy way
Yep.
and just like talk about
Yeah.
life and what have you. And I'm wondering if you can
Yeah.
remember anything outside of that that I'm just missing. Was that our entire relationship?
Honestly, I think it was. We hung out in that, well, no, not just church dances, but we hung out in that group. I
Mhm.
remember there were a few times, I remember there was this girl named Raina or
I
something
remember
like
the
that.
name.
And I remember one night we all hung out as a group and I met her and she was such a cool girl. And I was like, oh my gosh, who are you? And then I literally have never seen her again. But so I think that was definitely the majority of our relationship was dances and a smattering of other times, but then those
Mhm.
times that it was just you and I, or when I invited you to meet other friends and
Mhm.
there were just so many great memories.
Mhm.
Like you're one of those people in my life that marks a true time of friendship and openness and
Mhm.
um real connection.
Mhm.
I feel like the things that we got to talk about made a difference in my life. And
Mhm.
like you told me about this, about, I think it was Michael McLean. He was
Yes, I just as you were saying it, I just remembered out in front of the seminary building there off of
uh-huh,
yeah by Red Mountain. Yeah, yeah.
uh-huh,
Wow.
uh-huh. And I think music was a big
Yeah.
thing that you and I connected on.
Yeah.
And I think you brought me music in a new way
Mm.
because before that I just listened to music and it was like I listened to oldies a lot, which was
Yeah.
not that popular for my age bracket.
You're an old soul. You really are.
I know I so am. I still listen to like 60s French music and the Rat Pack. I'm like, people tell me they're like, the weekend. And I'm like, yeah, that's like in a few days. And they're like, no, the guy. And I'm like, what? There's a guy who calls
I don't
himself
even
the
know.
weekend?
I got nothing. Yeah, I don't.
What?
I have no attachment to that.
No clue. But I've discovered that that person does music.
So it
I
would
don't know
seem.
if he's a DJ or if
I,
he sings or I have no idea, but in some way he's involved with music. So I really still do have that old music style. It's in my blood.
which I guess is funny. You bring up like the connection we had. I mean, anybody that's watching this and looking at you and the gorgeous woman that you are would probably be a little flummoxed at the fact that I mean, I think I was as attracted to you as anybody, but I don't know why there was never like a desire to make a move or something. Like it was, we just there was
I
a
was
brain
awkward.
inside that
It's
head, and there was like
okay.
if there's like an intellect. I don't think it was you. I think in this
You know what?
weird
I
like
think,
spiritual fashion, for some
yeah,
weird reason, like we just were
yeah,
better, bigger than that. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like our connection was way stronger, way deeper,
Hmm.
way more, um, it meant more. Like I
Yeah.
always knew that you were going to be someone that would be in my life forever. Like even though we literally have not seen each other in who knows how long,
Yeah.
I will always consider you a friend. I will always consider you someone dear to me. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I can't say that about everyone I've dated, you
Hmm.
know? It's
Yeah.
just that way.
Yeah. And I think,
So,
I mean, in that, like, around that time in my life, like pre and just post mission, where I guess I felt like I had other things on my mind, so that it wasn't about like settling down. I think in some level, the thing that stopped me from maybe taking a shot at taking us to some other different level was because I was like, if you do that with Chelyse, it's gonna be forever. And so if you don't feel forever for her, don't even start. What would be the point? Because if that thing shatters, you're both going to be broken people, because the thing that connects you is too big. Like you kind of can't bring that ingredient into it unless you mean it. And
yep.
because as
Yep,
much as I love
exactly.
you, like I just never, I knew it. Like there was no like
Yeah.
in love. It was just like such a big bond.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're
Yeah.
just friends, which then
Oh
made it
yeah.
weird because we're like batting all the guys off you and stuff. Because obviously, like
You guys
you're.
were so good to me. Oh my gosh.
Have you talked to Tom? Like,
No, well, not really. No. I
hmm,
got a tattoo. It's
wow.
the beginning of this year. I call it
Mhm.
my quarantat because I was at the beginning of quarantine.
Uh-huh.
And so I called him and I thought, maybe I would have him do it because
Mhm.
he's such an amazing artist. And there's that sentimental part of he's an actual person in my life that I care about.
Yeah.
Um, and then it just didn't happen. And
Mhm.
I got it anyway because I couldn't wait. My roommate was going to be, she was from India and
Mm.
she was going to be getting married over there. And I wanted to have it done, like healed by the wedding. And
Mm.
then COVID and it didn't happen.
Nightmare. Yeah, all that.
Yeah. So that's the last time I talked to him. But before that, it's been before I talked to you last.
Wow.
I haven't seen him since back then. I don't know.
The irony being that I've actually physically been to Reno like at least once in the last like 4 or 5 years. And I was just there for a girl and I wasn't there for long. So my head was just in a different space, but I didn't even reach out to him or say hi. Shame on me. But I
We
like,
should make a trip. It'd be so cool.
we need to. And I do want to get tattooed. Like of all the dumb ideas I've had, like I I've started like filmmaking and music stuff a little bit more seriously, what have you. And like Blayrock Films, like the logo of it is like Blayrock like across my knuckles and like my face behind it and stuff like that.
I
So
love it.
the
That's
picture is just
awesome.
like wash off tattoos of like the
Mm.
letters. But I'm like, I
Hmm.
should just go to Tom and get it done for real,
I
which is
know,
dumb
right?
because I hear the knuckles are like the worst
Oh.
part to do pain
Okay, I
wise.
will say it did feel like exactly what it was. It felt like 1,000 needles. Actually, I shouldn't say that. What it actually felt like was, this is not better, was that someone had a scalpel and they were like carving into my back. That's what it felt like.
I just
So, I mean,
I just want to like mow through it. Just be like, just go fast. It's
and
8 fingers. You
really,
could do it.
it's totally fine and you can totally do it. That's just what it feels like.
Yeah. I
It's
think I
like a
will.
rite of passage, I think, really.
I think it's also just an excuse to get him on the podcast. I think I want him to do it and we'll podcast at the same time and
That's
see if I could just
awesome.
like grin, just like
And
get
you could
through it.
just
And
not cry.
so, do you remember the year we met? Because I'm even trying to zero in on like what exact part of my life you were in.
It was before you went on your mission,
It was before.
and it
Okay.
would have
So it must have been me
been,
going on my mission then is like the last time we saw each other. And we just
No,
didn't like
I know we saw each other after you got back
Okay.
at least once.
Okay.
Um, but gosh, that would have been
Yeah, like 2000. I left October of '01. Were you there for I don't remember you like the farewell or anything. I don't know if you were around then.
I went to your wedding reception. I've totally been there. I remember that. It was blue. Blue was the colors.
It was, and I'm so sorry that my head was so far up my ass. I don't remember that at all.
Um,
Wow.
no, on your wedding day, you're not supposed to be thinking about your guests. I'm sorry. You're totally
To at least acknowledge that they're there. I have maybe like two memories of friends being like, "Oh wow, you're in my wedding line. This is weird." Like guys in bands that I was in or something like that. But that impresses me that I don't remember. Now that I think about it, was Tom there? I guess he must have been if you were. You guys probably would have come together.
No, I think I brought a date.
That's that's good.
That sounds like me, right?
Use weddings to hook up. I like that.
No, I always wanted that to happen, but it never did. It's like such a movie moment, but
Yeah.
it never happened for me.
And you're such a
I would
cinematic
either
girl too. Yeah.
say that again.
You're such a cinematic girl. Like your life is such a film in progress.
Oh, it's fun when it happens. I've had lots of beautiful movie moments, but I've never had that one.
Mm. So if we're planting that as the last time that you and I saw each other prior to this, where did your life go from there? Because you're not in Arizona anymore. When did all that start?
No, so life was pretty crazy at the time. And when I say that, I mean, boy, crazy. It was ridiculous, honestly. I remember there was a time, probably shortly, you might have been on your mission at the time, maybe,
Mm.
but I was dating 8 people at a time, like at once. They all knew about each other. I had just sent my missionary off.
Mm.
And so I wasn't into anything serious. I didn't want something serious because I was going to marry my missionary, you know? And that thankfully did not happen. But during that time, it was like there's 7 days in the week and there was 8 people. So they had to like book it out with me.
Wow.
It was so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. But one of the guys that I dated ended up marrying my best friend. And so that was fortunate. They have 3 kids. They're very happy together, and I'm happy for them, and it's great. But it was a really crazy time in my life as far as that. And I feel like the boy thing went on for excessive numbers of years, and I dated a guy for 7 years. Um, most of it long
That's
distance.
a
That was
long time.
that
Most
was
of it long
ridiculous.
distance?
Most of it. So we dated for 7 years, and it
Wow.
was about the first year and a half that well, he lived on the other side of Phoenix, so we were about an hour away all
Mm.
the time. And then he moved to Texas.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so that was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Would not recommend it. It did not end well.
Oh.
And and I wish I hadn't wasted all that time. But I will say I learned a lot, and there are better ways to learn those same lessons.
So and there's things about what you're doing now that may like be inserted in here somewhere, so feel free to
Yeah,
let me know if that's the case. But
yeah.
um artistically, I mean, I've been seeing you get into the cosplay thing, and you look amazing at it, and just your personality. I imagine you fit in really well with those kids that are just way into fantasy and what have you. Like, how early did that start with you?
It's really funny the way that started. There was a Halloween morning. I had nothing to wear. So I went over to the thrift store and I just looked through all the costumes and I found this Spider-Man costume that was for like a very large 9-year-old boy. And I took it home and I was like, okay, I could make this work. And so I started sewing and I made it fit me. I put a zipper in it and put some boots on because it was way too short and some gloves because it was way too short. And that was my first superhero costume. And it was kind of ridiculous because there is no girl Batman, or at least there wasn't at the time. I don't know if there's now, but there wasn't at the time. for sure. And but it was such a fun costume. Like, okay, so I heard something years ago, not that far back, but years ago, that what someone dresses up for Halloween is what they wish they were, or like that feeling that they wish they were in real life.
Yeah.
And it's totally true for me. I don't know if it
Mhm.
is for everybody, but it definitely was for me. When I started doing superheroes, I felt empowered and I felt um, like I could do anything. And that's absolutely true for me. And so the next year, I didn't want to wear a wig. That first year, I wore a wig
Mhm.
and I didn't want to. And so I looked up red-haired superhero and I happened upon Firestar, which
Mm.
most people haven't even heard of. But I thought it was so great because she was also 5'1". She was 5 pounds heavier than me, which made me feel great. And at the time I was an x-ray tech and
Mhm.
her superpower is she would shoot x-rays out of her hands to make her fly. And I thought that was so great. I was like, this is fate. I am totally Firestar. And so I made this Firestar costume, the yellow and the red boots and red gloves, and it was awesome. And then from there, it just kind of took a mind of its own. And I've made other costumes, but I always find that going back to superheroes, it's simple to make the costume
Mhm.
and everyone loves it. And I feel great in it. So I keep doing those. I've since done um, the Phoenix, Jean Grey.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, the Phoenix and the green one, green and gold,
Mhm.
and the 60s version of Black Widow, which is a favorite as well. Everyone loves those ones because
Mhm.
they're a little more intricate
Yeah.
and but so the way that all the cosplay happened was I'm 5'1" and
Mhm.
like nothing fits me. And I could either be a sexy flower or a non-sexy bumblebee, like that's just not my jam
Mhm.
at all. And so I had to make a costume and I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so
Mhm.
it had to be right, you
Mhm.
know? And so I'd spend all this time making these costumes. And then, I've done quite a few others. I did like V for Vendetta, but
Mm, okay.
it's a
Yeah.
girl. And Giselle, because I just don't want to wear a wig. That's my thing. I don't want to wear a wig. So I did Giselle from Enchanted
Mm.
and Ygritte from Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
And I don't know, there's probably more. I feel like there's more. But so so the year that I did V for Vendetta, I met somebody that connected me with the Comic-Con scene. And about a couple months after we met, he messaged me on Facebook and he's like, "Hey, so they're looking for people to be on the billboard. You should submit your pictures." So I submitted a few and they're like, "Oh yeah, we love the Phoenix one." So I went down to the, you know, photography place. It was a park.
Mhm.
And I got 3 pictures before the camera died. And one of them made it to the billboard. And so I got to get in for free. That was my first moment with that world. It hadn't really been my thing. I felt like a total fraud because I had no idea. The photographer's like, "Yeah, do the thing Jean Grey does. Do the thing, with your hands, like." I'm like, "Okay, like that, like exactly what you're doing." I have no idea. No clue to save my life. I couldn't tell you anything about Jean Grey or X-Men or anything. I was a total fraud. And here I am on the stage, Hi, welcome to Comic-Con, everyone. you know, like I know something. But I did learn because I can't. I just felt so dumb. I didn't even actually, to tell you the truth, it was at Comic Con that I connected that Jean Grey and the Phoenix were the same person. I know,
Yeah.
it's so bad. So, but that kind of put me into that world. And
Mm.
so it was just so much fun to meet everybody. And it's like literally my people.
Mhm.
Like Comic Con people are my people.
Mhm.
So I kind of just fell into that world,
Hmm.
and it's a lot of fun. And I came home from that first Comic-Con and I was like, nerds have so much more fun than literally everyone else.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Hmm.
And I've always been like, I feel really free to be myself when I'm around
Hmm.
people that live in that world that are, more nerdy and like that, the fantasy in life, and that speak Elven, and, that all of it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and so I love it. I absolutely love it.
So have
But
you
that's never
gotten like hooked
happened.
up with troops of people that do this, or are you still kind of your own entity?
No, I don't consider myself a cosplayer. I consider
Mm.
myself just me.
Says the girl who was
But
on the billboard. I love that about you. Like you can succeed beyond anybody else's like wildest
yeah,
dreams and just be like, oh, it was just a thing. Just happened.
it was totally just a weird random thing. And I don't know, maybe it's just because it was a really tight outfit.
Which really begs the question, and I hate to I don't know, even look at the cosplaying experience or specifically the Comic Con experience as anything but just good, clean, good natured
Oh
fun.
yeah. Oh
However,
yeah.
the tawdry sexualized nature of it, and you being, I don't know, like voluptuous and like just hitting all the places that would invite somebody to be off color about it. I mean, is that something you've had to kind of
No,
deal with?
no, there was one, the photographer for that initial photo shoot, he invited me. He has a troupe that goes around. I would have to choose which superhero I would always be, which is really hard for me because I don't really do well without change. I
Hmm.
really thrive on that. And he said they go around to different events and different, hospitals and things like that, and do this superhero thing. And he sent me a list of a bunch that I could choose from, and I was like, I cannot wear any of that, like, outside of July and August. Like, there's nothing there. And so I didn't do it. But
Wow.
yeah, that was the most, uh I don't know, tawdry, I'll use your word for that, that
So it's
I
like
got.
people would
People.
ask you to do it, but
Mhm.
your own execution or initiation of it, like you had your own ideas and they didn't have anything to do with sex.
Yeah,
But when
no.
people got to know you and saw what you were capable of, they'd try to put that on you and be like, "Hey, you want
Yeah,
to come do this thing?"
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And it's just not my thing. Like, I do it literally, I do it for fun.
Yeah,
I've done aerial too, and I've done
of course.
birthday parties and
Mhm.
stuff, and that is so much fun. I love That's probably my very favorite part about all of that world,
Mhm.
is the birthday parties and just the make believe with the children. They just have
Mhm.
such, they believe, like, this
Mhm.
this darling little birthday party. They all believed that I really was Ariel, and they're like, "How are you going to get back to the ocean?" And I was like, "Well, my father, King Triton, has a trident, and he makes a rainbow from the ocean to just up the street, and he sends horses in a carriage, and I go to the ocean that way." And they were like, "Wow, can we see?" I'm like, "Unfortunately, it's too far away." It was so cute.
Oh
They just have
man.
these beautiful minds, and they
Yeah.
just
Which
soak it
is
all up.
where you flourish, I would think. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that was what was even interesting about being your friend and sort of watching like guys hit on you because, and I don't know if Tommy shared this perspective of you, but like the smirk that we would have watching a guy fail and realize that like that guy probably actually has all the things to truly reel you in, but because in his head, just like the toxic masculine image of how a guy is supposed to like flirt with a girl, is just not going to work on you. And so on some level,
No,
we're just like, if you
no.
only knew that if you would just be yourself, like she would
Yeah.
just melt into your arms.
Yeah.
She's just great
Yeah.
like that.
That's all I require is just authenticity. And I'll tell you a funny story about that. I don't know if you know this, but back then I had this ring, this huge pink ring. It was like supposed to be reminiscent of J-Lo's pink diamond, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but it was huge and it was gaudy and it was absurd. And I would wear it on every single first date. And it was so great because, and I don't know if I should share my secrets, but I would wear it on every first date. And if I wasn't into the guy, I would be the opposite so he wouldn't ask me out again. Because at the time, I would say yes to everyone that like asked me. And so if he was into like working out, and
Mhm.
like didn't have a whole lot up there, I'd be like, so what's the last book you read? And he'd be like, I don't read. Like, oh, that's too bad. I'm so sorry. We have nothing in common. And I would tell him about the books I've read recently. And and then if he was like the kind of guy that read books and I was not into him, I'd be like, oh my gosh, look at this ring. Isn't it pink? I just love it. It's just so sparkly. And I would go on and on about this absurd ring. It worked like a charm. They would never ask me out again. It was so great.
That is the best about you, that like it's so easy to get the wrong impression of you. And I'm not
Uh-huh.
100% sure why that is, but it's really easy to
You
just
know what? That persists to this day. I hear it all the time. You're really not who I thought you would be. I know. I like that.
so I mean, with in association with the church dances that we used to go to, we didn't meet through the church, but we, even musically speaking, the Michael McLean stuff, like we carried a bond through Mormonism. I'm not sure if we ever actually even went to like, because I know Tommy was already starting to kind of walk away from it, so I don't know if we ever went to like a meeting
I
together, like a worship service.
I don't know if we ever did. I can't imagine we went to more than one. I think
Right.
maybe we might have gone to a farewell or a homecoming,
Oh,
maybe.
okay, that makes sense. A lot of
But
everybody
I
was
think
leaving
that's
about then.
probably
Yeah.
about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I I don't know that even at the time of us, being closer, and all of our conversations outside of, I guess, maybe just some of the more emotional, spiritual, musical elements of I guess what our faith provided for us. I'm not sure that I really got my head around your relationship to it, because I think it kind of came from your family. So I don't know if it
Hmm.
just became this inherited thing that you just ran with, or if you yourself had your own kind of
Kind
thing
of.
relation with it.
Kind of some of both, actually. So, at the time, I was the only member of the church in my family. The rest of
Mm,
my immediate family had left the church. And I felt at the time that it was part of me loved it because of what it brought to my life. It gave me a place to be grounded, a place where I felt a part of something. Um, it really gave me a lot of um, core beliefs about myself that were really,
mm,
really great. Um, and it was also something that I knew my grandparents. I knew it meant a lot to my grandparents, and so I
mm,
kind of stuck around for them
mm,
more so than what I knew for myself.
mhm,
Um, and then when I got to know for myself what I actually believed about it,
mhm,
it was honestly, it just changed from being something that is a checklist thing to
mm.
something that, you always hear, don't be a buffet Mormon. And it kind of became the kind of thing where I needed to be super authentic with myself about who I wanted to be and
Mm-hmm.
who the church was building me to be,
Mm.
and really becoming a buffet Mormon. Like, this is what I want to keep, and this is what I don't want to keep. And
Wow.
if we could just have lessons that are not all about the same, you know, 52 topics we always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of went more that direction. Like I just want to like have
Mm-hmm.
more substance. And like we all know that faith, is, believing in something you can't see, but what is it
Mm-hmm.
like? What's more, And so I really went on a quest with myself,
Yeah.
like finding out, not just because people said it, but what is the experience?
That's a
What
really
is the
interesting point.
experience
Like, it's one thing to like bring your problems to the principles and run them through the principles and just expect the principles to like solve them. And it's a whole other
Mhm.
thing to like transmogrify like the doctrines, or they always talk about applying it to your life, and I always got the feeling like they weren't saying the right words. I'm like, I don't think you mean apply this to my life. I think you mean bring my life to it and let it just like wash my life clean. And my life experience doesn't seem to mirror that. Like it
Yeah.
I bring my life to it and I just leave feeling like guilty and shameful,
Yeah.
like I'm not doing
Yeah.
it right. And
I did that for a lot of years. And when I switched it to giving myself the space to be human,
mhm,
really, that was the turning point in my life. Was it's okay to be human. It's
mhm,
okay to learn from my mistakes. I learn from my mistakes pretty well. Like,
mhm,
if I get burned, I'm not going to do that again, you
mhm.
know? But that involves going outside the lines,
Yeah.
doing things, finding out for myself
Mhm,
that, hey, this is why they say don't do that,
mhm.
because it actually does hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And so I have largely lived my life for many, many years now
Mhm,
on that principle is what what is my life experience
mhm,
when I do what I want to do.
mhm,
And it's been interesting because I've seen some things that I thought would matter a lot, some mistakes that
mm,
I've made that I thought would matter a lot, and they just don't.
mhm.
you know, and some things on the other side as well that, I thought, what's the big deal? And oh, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a big deal, you know? And
In
so I
connection
find
to
that,
that, like, I guess my like doctrinal twist on the exact same idea is, I left the church for 7 some odd years, and then I ended up
hmm
having some pretty powerful experiences, and it moved upon me to return and to reinstall this stuff into my life, and I had an amazing few years, and then I had a really rough few years, mostly having to do with relationships. But I got to this space where, after having been through so many hard things and having some old demons return, in the sense of some old habits and stuff that I thought I had been cleansed of and I just thought I was done with, and they found their way back into my life, I'd sit there in the temple and I'd watch the endowment video and the whole Adam and Eve story over and over again, and I'd just be like, what in the hell does any of this mean? And over a period of time, really just kind of trying to figure it out, something that I noticed in connection to your point was, why this story? Why do we keep coming back here? If this was really just the genesis of mankind, why wouldn't we just turn the page and keep talking? Is there something here I'm missing? And then to realize that the story that's being told there isn't the beginning of mankind, although that is involved. The story that's being told there is of them eating the apple or the fruit, whatever you want to call it, and
hmm
why. Why did she do it? Why did he do it? And what happened after? Once they'd both eaten the apple and they were now kind of subject to the consequences of that decision, what then next? And the redemption that was available to them really as the result of that decision, and the suggestion in the concept that we keep coming back and hearing the same story over and over again is that we're watching a story that we're supposed to look at as wash, rinse, repeat. Meaning our life experiences are coming down here to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil all around us. And upon receiving that fruit and having a very personal experience with however that reacts with us, then we have the opportunity, if we so seek it, to go to God with that experience and to with him make sense of it, and to be, I guess, I hate to say redeemed as if we did something wrong, because I don't even know if I really see it in that light anymore, but to grow through that thing and to become a whole new creature, which I think is the baptism he was talking to Nicodemus about. You know what I mean? Like be
Mhm.
born again through that process of eating the fruit and learning stuff.
Yep. Yep. I absolutely agree. And I've definitely seen that in my own life. And I think it's because when I decided that I wanted to um, find out about life by experiencing life, I found that doing that brought everything home for me in a totally different way. You know, you can hear the same thing over and over and over again for years on end, and you don't really get it until you experience it. Well, that's for me. I'm sure, you know, I did life a lot of years also by just doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of joy in that. There was a lot of satisfaction. There's a lot of happiness. There was not a lot of really deep heartaches around that, you know. It's true what they say. You'll be happy if you follow these the doctrine, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's true. You will. And now, now that I have some life experience,
Mm-hmm.
I can speak about my experience and I can
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, well, yes, you can do it that way. And here's my experience as to why you might want to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you're just cutting out some hard things,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
And
that you
maybe
don't have
making
to
your own
really
like
experience.
experience, I don't know, like harder than it needs to be, or it's almost like resistance and obedience and structure and exactness of the law has its benefits. But I feel like when if you can't be self-aware enough to realize when you're so worn down that you're not even really doing it for the right reasons anymore,
Hmm.
that's when it becomes
Yeah.
the the what did the scriptures call it, like the whore of all the earth. Like that's when it's
Yep.
when you're not following the lamb anymore. Like now it's become this selfish quest to just stay on this rigid road rather than be like,
If you're not learning, you're doing life wrong. That's all there is to it as far as I'm concerned.
yes.
Like if you're not learning, sorry, you
Mm-hmm.
might as well be dead. No, that's not true. But like do it right. You know?
It's weird
Learn.
because
That's what
like
we're here for.
as much as I believe what we're talking about, I haven't figured out a way to have like this kind of a conversation with other members because I
Hmm.
feel like it's a little too far outside of the box that they've carved for themselves. And to be honest with you, I don't really want to challenge their box because it's not
Yeah.
like I'm having a great time over here either. Like it's really confusing and there's a lot of
Hmm.
voices and it's hard to
Hmm.
make your way. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that right there is the key, is what my mom used to say this, and I absolutely believe it. Whatever brings you closer to God, that's where you need to be.
Hmm.
Whatever that is. Even if you get there by going the opposite direction first and slingshotting, like that's fine.
Slingshot.
You know? If you
Yeah.
do some sort of a boomerang thing, cool, do that. Like whatever it is. If you're trudging along on this beautiful little path with lights on either side, do that. Like it does not matter. I don't feel like God is is at all micromanaging.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of space
Yeah.
in Earth life for us
Yep.
to experience what we actually need to experience. And I
Mhm.
feel like all the learning and growth that will prepare us for eternity doesn't happen on the exact same yellow brick road.
Right. Totally. Me and my brother were actually talking about like agency as it corresponds to how God is connected to our lives and is active in our lives. And we started talking about this thing that I've just been obsessed with, just sort of pondering about, called just the infinitesimalness of possibilities, where it's like your choice creates an opportunity for a heavenly response or reaction to said choice.
Mm-hmm.
And in situations where your choice impacts other people, like the pay it forward, like just web that comes off of that spins my brain to try to figure out how and why that works. But that, when he says, "This is my work and my glory," that's it. He is busy on a microscopic scale responding to 100 decisions that you make every single day. And he's doing the same thing for everybody else that's alive on this earth right now, which is
Yep.
bananas.
It absolutely is.
Then
And
again, I
that's
don't know.
why
Maybe
it's
he's just
good
a good
that
delegator.
even say that again.
Maybe he's just a good delegator. Maybe he just assigns all
I mean,
sorts
I
of
could
work
see that
out.
too.
I don't know.
I feel like there's some beings that are around me. I don't know if they're angels or former family members or future family members or whatever, but I feel like there's some beings around me that definitely have um, control of my car, if nothing else. You know, that that I feel like I'm being carefully watched and carefully led and carefully guided to exactly where I need to be, the exact things that I need to learn for
Mm-hmm.
my eternal growth. And I find that so many times it's not inside the box.
Mm, yeah, true that. So,
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to figure out what is in this world, you know, like
yeah.
have all the experiences. I've got it into words recently that I am very motivated by
Mm-hmm.
experiences. And I don't honestly care if they're good experiences or bad experiences. I want to have all the experiences that this life can give to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it such a ride. It's great. Even when it's lousy, it's still awesome that I can like bawl my eyes out, you know, for this thing that I really wasn't expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's like hurt that,
Yeah.
whoa, where did that come from? And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? I'm human and I got to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like who gets to deal with that? Plenty of people, but I got to, and I never have before,
Which
you
is really
know.
healthy. I try to like not like on a daily basis, but kind of on like a maybe a chapter basis in my life. I try to sit down and I try to observe what I've been through and
Yeah, that's so good.
yeah, be grateful for the
Hmm.
specificness of it and that,
Yeah.
I don't know, whether it was relationship and thinking all the little things about that, like, how many guys would want to have a shot with that girl and you got one. And that
Yeah.
means that for whatever reason in that time in her life, like she let you be that for her. She like put all that trust in you and she let you be like, her space of comfort and all that. And just little things like that, where it's like, okay, what you may not have, it didn't end the way you wanted it to end. You don't have what you wanted to have from it, in the macro.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that I didn't experience something and
Hmm.
that I'm not changed forever because of
Exactly.
what happened.
Exactly. Yeah. And in my relationships that have gone south in a big way, like Antarctica south, I look back on those and it's amazing to see the person. I know this is so cliche. I almost don't even want to say it, but it's amazing to see what that created me to be from
Mm,
those experiences.
mm,
The experiences where I behaved badly, I can look back and say, okay, you know what? I am totally mortified that that's who I was and that's how I showed up. And I'm just really glad that that's not a thing I do anymore, you know? And like being able to just take life as this ride, this experience, this day at the fair, Sometimes you're doing bumper cars, sometimes you're eating ice cream, you know, and it's all fun at the end of the day,
Well,
even
knowing you
when
as like the gentle, good person that I know you as, like when are you just judging yourself at that point, or what do you mean you're like embarrassed about how you're showing up? I can't picture that with you.
so I'll tell you. This is like one of the things that I'm very most disappointed in the way that I
Hmm.
behaved. But I had a relationship, the 7-year relationship. The way that ended, I got really bitter towards the end of it because I had been talking to him since about the 1.5 year point about where are we going? What is our future? And the answer was always, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And what I should have done, honestly, in hindsight, is I should have said, okay, I don't know is a no. Like,
Hmm.
let's be honest. I don't know means
Yeah.
no. But what I did was I got really bitter and it was a whole process. And I think both of us were wrong in some really valid ways, and neither
Hmm.
of us were right at all.
Wow.
And what I did is I tried to hurt him. I would do things that hurt myself because I knew it would hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really detrimental to my progress. Then I had to come back from that and look at healing the ways that I treated myself poorly
Hmm.
to make a point. Like, and it's not, you know, I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have. And there was at no point could I not have left too, you know? But I think I didn't have the emotional maturity at the time to recognize that I could make whatever choice I wanted. I really didn't figure that out for a long time. As far as relationships go, I think I had that in life a lot earlier than I got that in relationships.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm really disappointed in the way that I behaved
Mm.
when I was emotionally immature.
I had that one in reverse actually. I was
Oh,
with a woman that I wanted, to settle down with. This was just a few years ago. And I would be the one not badgering, but always temperature checking the relationship with her and seeing where she's at. Da, 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 da. And at some
hmm.
point, this John Mayer lyric really hit me in a way that I kind of wasn't really ready to deal with yet. But it's anything other than yes is no. Anything other than stay is go. Anything less than I love you is lying. And
I love
it
that.
was her
It's so
lack
true.
of answer that was all I needed to know, but I didn't want to hear that. So I just let a relationship go until at some point I did eventually just have to be like, I don't want to be this guy right now and I don't want to do this, but I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it didn't end like well, it didn't end like amicably or sweetly or anything like that. It started a long road of like just my life just became this giant desert that I was just wandering through. Like I
Oh, yeah.
just couldn't really feel anything, and it was just function mode only. It was a nightmare. But
Mhm.
on the other side of that, I guess the lesson to be learned there is you can hang out for as long as you want in any place that will let you hang out there. But as
Yeah.
soon as you know the score, you could also just move on it. Just do
Yep.
something.
Yep.
Just make a
Yep.
move and just absorb the pain. I don't know. Don't be afraid of it. Like lean into it and let life
Hmm.
show you miracles. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah.
dating an
Oh yeah.
incredible woman right now, and just unexpected. Just the kind of person that's
Yeah.
so well fit for me, but not who I would have been looking for at all. Like not the same religion, not the same anything. Like just a totally left field thing that just. I mean, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen, but I'm basically just trying to take it slow because in any other time in my life, I'd just be like, let's get married just because everything's
Yeah.
great. So why not just
Yeah.
lock it down? So I'm like, easy. No one's in a rush. So
Yeah.
just
No one
let's
is
play it out.
actually in a rush.
Right.
So, something that makes me think of, just like backing up like
Mhm.
45 seconds, is something. So in that situation, what happened that
Mhm.
I think honestly is a miracle, and I see the same thing happen at the same kinds of crossroads in my life.
Mm.
I had been looking for a way to get out of that relationship for a long time, for several years by
Wow.
that point, and I couldn't get out of it because I had invested so much, honestly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to lose that investment.
Sure.
Um, and what I did, I found myself, I drove, so I lived in Utah, or I still do too, but I found myself driving out to Wyoming, and I stopped for dinner on this cliff area that was overlooking the sunset.
Mhm.
And I was fine, calm, and I
Mhm.
went out there to the edge of the cliff, and I'm just sitting there eating, and I started thinking more and more about what was going on in my life and how I'd lost this huge relationship, and how honestly, I couldn't see that God even remembered that I was alive. Like,
Yeah.
where are you? Do you even know that I'm alive and I
Yeah.
need your help? And the sun set, and it got darker and darker and darker. And I found myself just screaming at the top of my lungs, just, where are you? Where are you? I'm here and you are nowhere. And and then I heard this sound on a plant, like it was a small animal or something. I had no idea what it was. It totally freaked me out, ran back to my car, drove straight home. Went to church the next morning. And I asked my bishop for a blessing. And it was so interesting. I asked him if could record it. I always do that because I feel like
Mhm.
it's really helpful for me to be able to review it because there's so
Mhm.
much all at once.
Sure.
And I did that, and it was really cool. He said some things in there that are really like some specific words that are pretty unconsequential to other people,
Yeah.
and they're really, really impactful between he and I in the way that
Mhm.
we communicate.
Yeah.
And those words were used specifically, and it was really cool because what I was basically told was, he's been there the whole time and you need to turn back to him. And I did that, like, in a big way. I was like, okay, hard turn, you know? And 2 weeks later, my life looked completely different. I
Oh.
was wrapped in this new group of friends that were so good for me. I was so happy and so fulfilled. And it's been interesting because that is something that is pretty consistent in my life, is when
Mhm.
when everything falls apart and I refocus. It's not even necessarily on church or religious topics or spiritual things at all, even.
Mhm.
But whenever everything falls apart, what's supposed to be in my life falls into place.
Mm.
And it's the biggest recurring miracle of my whole life. So that's my 2 cents about that. When you're drowning, it takes about 2 weeks to change everything into exactly where you're supposed to be. And I've seen it
Sure.
happen too many times to ever consider that it's happenstance.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And yet a mystery that I'm trying to wrap my head around is going from those moments of like personal salvation where you just really get enough perspective to either start swimming the right way so you can kind of get up on the beach and get out, or to just be plucked out of your issues, because that'll happen sometimes too.
Mhm.
And then to have a period of just peace and prosperity. But the pride cycle, like at some point eventually you're just gonna fall back into old habits and just really
Or
fall off that horse.
new bad
Or
habits.
new bad habits. Yeah. And like another song lyric from Mumford and Sons, a song called "Roll Away Your Stone." Um, you say that all your bridges have been burned, but I tell you that's exactly how this grace thing works. It's not the long walk home that will change this heart, but the welcome I receive at every start. The
I
idea
love
that
that.
like it's not about getting back to heaven and just point your ship and just don't veer course. It's about realizing that one of the reasons we were sent here was to experience being lost.
Hmm. Oh
Even
yeah.
Jesus on the cross crying out like, why hast thou forsaken me? Even Jesus had to experience as part of his
Yeah.
mortal journey being lost, having a complete disconnection from heaven and feeling abandoned and lost. And the reason
Hmm.
behind that is because the way, and even as I'm saying this right now, I'm so bothered by it because it's kind of an answer to a prayer that I haven't even been saying, but it's just bothering me in this moment that it's coming to me in this way. The way God establishes his relationship with you is by building trust through losing you and getting you back and losing you and getting you back and losing you and to
Yeah.
illustrate to you how he works by the
Yeah.
process of you letting you wander and then reeling you back in, letting you wander
Hmm.
until eventually you've done
Hmm.
it like so many different ways that you know him that much
Yeah.
better because of all the
Mhm.
different ways that he's found to like the one and the 90 and 9 to like get out there in the
Yeah.
mountainside or whatever and like go to where
Um,
you are and wait for you to turn to him and let him take you out, or whatever the metaphor
yeah.
is.
I've absolutely experienced that. I absolutely agree with you. That's very much the way that works. I absolutely agree.
Me too. So you mentioned a bit ago about x-ray technician. Is that still what you do?
No, no. And that's been an interesting thing. So I decided when I was 18 that that's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, it might have even been before that. Could have been when I was 16. Um, but I decided young that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in the medical field. I always knew that. I didn't want to do anything with blood, which that's the wrong field. I mean, broken bones, there's plenty of blood. But, I didn't think that one all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was originally wanting to go for ultrasound.
Mm.
Um, I had a very fortunate experience with a very smelly person that changed the course of my life to X-ray. That person does, I don't know who they are, but they changed the course of my life, and I appreciate them for that. Um, so I was an X-ray tech for 20 years, and I mostly worked at doctors' offices, somewhat in the hospital arena, but and I loved it at the hospital. I'm just really small, and so it's difficult for me to get these, 12 by 17 plates
Yeah.
underneath someone who can't move. I'm not physically cut out for that kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really did. I loved working at the doctor's offices for a long time. And then it just kind of got really mundane. Um, and People coming in. I could tell you right now, I haven't done it for about a year and a half. I could tell you right now how to execute a perfect x-ray of pick an area. And and you could do it. You could write down what I said and you could do it perfectly. Like there was no challenge in it anymore. And like I said earlier, I need change. Like I thrive on new experiences. And so I enjoyed the teaching part when that became an opportunity, just, training people. I really enjoyed pediatrics. That was another place, and working with the elderly. I loved those things, but that wasn't an opportunity very often. And so the time, it's funny. It was probably about the last 6 years or so
Hmm.
that I felt like I should do something else. But I was working this really cushy job where I was working 3 days a week. I was doing three 13-hour shifts,
Hmm.
and then I had 4 days off every week. And that was really hard to give up because
Hmm.
who doesn't love 4 days, 4 day weekends every week? And so I didn't leave and didn't leave and didn't leave and didn't even consider very seriously any other options. And it was so great the way it happened. There was an office manager that she was young and had never managed people before, and she wasn't very good at it. She was just promoted because she had longevity
Hmm.
at that point. And she put this note, this laminated note in my workspace. There were three or four x-ray techs that would swap out every week. And so it wasn't directed to me, but it was definitely directed to me. And it said, um, X-ray job responsibilities. Um, Washing the lunchroom, washing up after lunch, scanning, doing laundry, like this long list, faxes, bad addresses, all this stuff. And nowhere on that list was anything about X-ray. And I looked at that and I thought, what do you think we do? And I had this moment of just being snotty, honestly. I was just being snotty. And I was like, you know what? So I wrote on the one in the x-ray room, take, whatever I wrote, like take amazing x-rays using as little as reasonably available, reasonably possible, and basically like be an amazing x-ray tech. And then about a month later, that kind of it annoyed me throughout, but she she took that and she put it up right in the one space that it wasn't already there, tacked on a few more things. And I sat there this one particular day and I was looking at it and I was like, I was doing scanning and I was like, okay, I am a full grown woman. I do not need to act like a child. I can do these meaningless, menial tasks that have nothing to do with my education. It's fine. And what I did was about 3 hours later, I called my supervisor and I was like, hey, you know what? I actually have to cut back my hours. I couldn't do it. And so I did. I cut back to 1 day a week and changed my path. I learned how to do permanent makeup and I started doing that instead. And that, interestingly enough, led me to a really cool job that I really, really loved, um, managing a med spa. And I mean, it's a
Wow.
weird like twist,
Yeah.
but I really loved working at the med spa and I did
Hmm.
really well at it. I got to build the whole thing from the ground up. Absolutely loved it. Learned so much about managing and lasers and, being a leader in that way and so much. And then one day I walked in, no warning at all, and I had lost that job just in a blink.
Wow.
And it was shocking. because I knew I had been doing a really good job. I knew I had complete integrity in the job and my responsibilities. And it was just like, wait, I'm not supposed to be let go unless I'm doing something wrong, you know? So that was a
Yeah.
really jarring moment for me.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because in the following couple of hours, I realized that I had given so much of my heart and soul to that job, to that place, that I had a lot left to give, but I had given so much and it was all for nothing. It was
Mm.
just ripped away from me in a second, regardless of how much I was succeeding or not succeeding. And
Yeah.
so it didn't take very long before I realized it's time to live for my own dreams. It's
Mm.
time to start my life and make my dreams happen instead of other people's dreams happen.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turning point. That was about 4 months ago that happened. And it's been
Wow.
really cool to actually get to start designing and creating and implementing the life I actually want, that in such a way that I can actually do it. And it came from really starting to understand that this time is all the time I get. You know, if I
Yeah.
die next month, that's all the time I get. And
Yeah.
to use that time wisely and to use that time in the way that honors me, that honors my eternity, that honors my opportunity to live and to make an impact. And so that's where I'm at now.
Wow. So what is the plan?
Well, I will tell you, but we have to stop for a minute
Okay.
because my phone's gonna die.
Oh, okay. I mean that
So
might be a
let
great
me,
like to be continued. We can like make them wait to hear the answer to that question.
yeah. So let me hang on just a minute. Let
Okay.
me go grab my charger
Okay.
and um and I'll be right back. Do you want me to just like put this down or what's the
Yeah,
best way?
totally.
Okay. All right, I'll be right back. One second.
Okay. Oh, funny. Funny, funny, funny. Respond to some text messages. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. That's a lot of stairs. Every time I go up and down these stairs, I think, why did I buy a house with so many stairs? So, okay. So what's the plan?
Yeah.
Okay. So the plan is kind of on the DL, so I'll just put it out there on a podcast.
Ruh-roh. Okay.
So, um, so I started when I decided that I was going to do life differently.
Hmm.
I started really looking at what I value and the experiences that I want to have and the impact that I want to have. And what happened, I started to notice that the areas that I wanted to do more of is either teaching. I love teaching. I love traveling and I love serving. And I hate saying that because I feel like that's a weird thing. Like, I love serving. I don't love serving, but I do love it. And so I wanted to do something that incorporated those things.
Hmm.
And so I started looking at different ways of doing that. How can I be a traveler
Mm.
without a job? Because part of this is I don't want to work. I don't want to spend my time on someone else's dream anymore. It's
Mm.
not something that I have any interest in. I will
Mm.
do it in as much as I have to achieve my dreams, but I don't want a career anymore that is other than my own dream.
Hmm.
So, um, what I determined was that I want to live out of the country
Hmm.
for the time being, or for a time, I should say, because I've discovered about myself that when I am in a new place and I don't have a rhythm and I don't have the beginnings of a rut, what I do is I find places where I can be of service. I love the elderly, and so I typically gravitate towards nursing homes and, serving the elderly.
Mm.
It doesn't leave a lot of room for teaching because they have a lot to teach me.
Yeah.
But but so my thought is if I leave the country and just be in a place that's totally unfamiliar to me, not
Mm.
only will that satisfy my desire for new experiences
Hmm.
and seeing the world, but I want to put myself in other cultures that are
Hmm.
unfamiliar and learn about the ways that other people live all over the world
Yeah.
and find in these communities the place where I can be of service.
Yeah.
And and then when that rut starts to happen, go somewhere else. Like I
Mm.
don't I want um to live a life of newness.
Hmm.
And so that's the start to that. Um, so I was looking in a journal that I had written when I was probably around 14 or 15.
Hmm.
And it was one of the things that I wrote about that I wanted to do with my life was be like Mother Teresa. Now, I
Mm.
know that's a very lofty goal, and that is not like, I'll probably never actually get there because she was an amazing woman.
Mm.
But she was the only person at the time that I saw um, doing that I saw traveling to the place where there was need and alleviating that need. And that's the part that I was really drawn to. And so that's what I want to do with my life. Just keep going and finding a need and figuring out, learning through whatever it happens to be. I don't have a certain um niche, like I'm
Hmm.
not all about, I don't want to find all the babies with cleft palates in the world
Yeah.
and serve them. I don't want to find all the nursing homes on the planet and serve
Yeah.
them. I don't have a certain niche that I'm particularly drawn to right now.
Hmm.
And I hope I don't find one, honestly, because I love the idea that I can just go and be and
Yeah.
do. So
It,
that's
that
what I'm gonna do.
plan interests me. I'm a big fan of Dax Shepard. He's got a huge
Oh yeah.
podcast right now, and he's married to Kristen Bell. And amidst the conversations he'll have with people from time to time, he talks about like his own insecurities. One of which is like making and keeping money. And one of his issues with her is that she's actually very kind of free and fast and loose with her resources. And the thing that the way he puts it, like irritates him the most about that, because her being fast and loose with it is almost across the board generosity. What ends up happening is through whatever way happens, her generosities get replenished, and oftentimes in excess, so that it just empowers her to even do more service and good in the world, which to him makes no sense, because you work to get money and then you spend the money and the money's gone. Like, why would there be any just sort of like constant source of revenue or whatever just because you're being a good person? But I guess my point is, I see that happening with
Hmm.
what you're talking about, that
Yeah.
because of your heart, because of your intentions, and because of your ambition, the means will find you to do the things that you want to do in the world, which is
They
fantastic.
already are. Like I haven't
Oh,
even
good.
actually started it, and I'm seeing that. It's like I haven't had a job for 4 months now, and I haven't needed to worry about it. Um,
Wow.
if anything, I've had less of a reason to worry about it since having no job. And so it's really empowering me to move in that direction, because I know that not only is this something that I feel really, really drawn toward, but it's the way is being opened up so that I can,
Yeah.
And I've discovered I only actually, it's really funny. I only actually require $600 a month to live. That's really easy to do. Like I don't even need like a half decent job to make $600 a month. you know? So it's pretty cool to see that it's super possible and that it's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, a big part of that is not accepting less, not accepting, not being afraid is a big part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and just jumping, just go,
Yeah.
you know?
So, I mean, I don't know, not to, I guess, take the conversation beyond how generous you've been with the plan as is, but do you have your eye on a particular starting point, or are you not quite to that phase of the plan yet?
A location, is
Yeah.
that what you mean? Yeah. Well, I want to start in Ireland, and
Ooh.
the reason for that is simply because, well, I've been there before, so it's familiar to an
Mm.
extent. And they speak English. And it's just that easy. And so I can kind of get my bearings in a place
Yeah.
that's going to be easier. And
Mm-hmm.
then once I get used to the idea, once I kind of figure out how this is all going to work, then I can go into places where there's a challenge, because really I need a challenge. I thrive when there's a challenge. So,
And the irony being, like, when that Irish accent rubs off on you, like, your hot girl quotient is gonna go through the roof.
you know what? When I lived there, I tried so hard to pick it up, and I don't know. I'm technically I'm Scottish, so maybe I can get that one. But I really wanted to learn it, and I just can't do it.
It's rough. It's one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite accent, but it's rough.
It is. It's so great. And when I was there, people stopped me and asked me for directions, and thought I was from there, which I took
Mhm.
as the highest compliment. And and then I opened my mouth, and they're like, "Oh, never mind." I'm sorry. I can't actually help you in any way. But can you tell me where to find ice cream? Because they have the best ice cream I have ever had in Ireland.
Really? Oh,
Absolutely.
bucket list.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope to gain 20 pounds on Irish ice cream.
I'll hope that for you. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, outside of the fact that it was just ridiculously good to catch up with you, and I hope to catch you before you depart overseas. It means a
Catch
lot.
me a little bit after so I have things to tell you.
That's a good point. I want to hear all the stories of
Yeah, I have
your
a hunch that
pilgrimage.
it's gonna be amazing.
Well, it means a lot that you would come on my podcast. I feel like these things are still kind of like new and nerdy. So every time I ask somebody
I
to
can
be on
do
one, I'm
it.
just like, what? feel weird about it. But
I
thanks
feel
for doing it.
I feel honored that you would ask me, and I hope your listeners are not just bored to tears from me.
No, this was a really good one. That we hit some powerful stuff. I'm often
Oh,
proud of
it's
my
all
podcast,
you.
but this one was great. Well,
Well, I
thanks.
appreciate it very much.
Yeah, if you're swinging back to Arizona before you leave, we need to actually sit down and hug and talk and stuff. But if not, maybe I'll
Right?
just come over there. I don't know.
And
I'll
you
meet you in
absolutely
Ireland.
should. You absolutely should. And you'll
Okay.
have to stay for a while because at least right now there's 2 weeks quarantine before you can do anything. So
Oh yeah, I absolutely don't want to travel an inch until all that stuff's behind us. So if that's gonna be a few years,
yeah,
then fine, that's my life.
I
But
really hope it's not because it's gonna cramp my style.
well, I love you. Thank you for hanging out with me,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we'll we'll talk again.
Yes,
It'll
I
it'll
would
it'll feel
love that.
sooner than later. It's gonna be great.
I hope so.